I'm just going to put this out there. Strawberry ice cream is the worst ice cream flavor to have ever existed, and anybody that says otherwise should not. People probably should just not be on this show. Honestly, I think if you like strawberry ice cream, you don't qualify.
Is superior, and that's all I'm going to say.
No, also bad take. Anyway, Godsent versus XL. Let's get into this matchup. It feels like it should be relatively smooth sailing for XL here. Godsent still struggling to really make their mark over in Group A.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that BTXL are starting to pick up steam right now. They're starting to understand the meta even more. Although 2 members are going to be gone next week, the members that are jumping back in are jumping from an NLC team that has been very closely studying the meta. So I think that also the BTXL team can only benefit from that. And for Godsent, I just cannot put the pieces together yet. I just cannot understand what is wrong. It feels like the synergy is not working. The early game is not working. And when it does, they don't know how to translate. And I feel like a team like BTXL should actually breeze through a matchup like this.
Yeah, I think BTXL should. I will say, to give a little bit of credit to Godsent rather, last week they had an okay set of performances. I think given the score lines, they picked up 1 win, but again, it was against Resolve, so it's like whoop-de-doo, right? But hopefully they can at least put on a nice show against BTXL, but I am expecting BTXL to kind of just come out here and roll them. And I think especially when you're looking at, Mark and Navian, they're on their last.
I love how I tried to put it nicely, Jamada. You're like, they're just roll them. That's
you know
it.
me. Look. You know me. I don't typically hold punches when it comes to team analysis.
Don't
I think a team's gonna get rolled. I'm just gonna say a team I think is gonna get rolled. But I think for Godsent, if Astaire can get rolling, but he's not really had like the best split. I think Kubu has his moments, and I think on a champion like Viego, certainly that could be the case. I think it's been 6-10 piloting that the most though. And again, I will say it, I think Godsent across the board have okay players on paper, but like you're saying, Trouble, they've never found that sort of magical click, and that's just been the major issue for them. And when you can't find that click, it just becomes so hard to develop from from anywhere really. So from BTXL. On that note, I want to just kind of see them be decisive, like we saw them sort of return to form in last week's games. And I think set Diana is definitely the right kind of R1, R2 to set.
We showcased it, right? Yeah, the previous clip was like, what's that? 4-man Diana rolled straight into the true damage from the set. Yeah, I'll have 2 of these for tables 6 and 5, please.
just what if ain't broke, don't fix it straight away. A very LPL style from BTXL as well. We're gonna see this though. This Lulu, if it does get locked in, is something that has been kind of popping up in other ERLs, especially a lot of the Polish teams are currently playing Lulu mid to kind of like facilitate a hyper carry in one of the lanes. It could be Lulu support clearly, but Lulu mid has been very popular in I think LCK playing Lulu top as well in some instances. There is that flexibility that this Lulu pick offers, and it helps facilitate one of your like stronger hyper carries. And with the Leona lock in, it is clearly going to be a solo lane Lulu at this point, which does mean that maybe we see something like like the Tristana, like the Jinx, for instance. Maybe if you're feeling crazy wild, something like the Vayne. There are options with that pickup.
A little bit worried perhaps on the Leona with the Ezreal here, because you're looking at Set, you're looking at Diana. There's obviously many more picks that can dive in the backline, such as the Kai'Sa and whatnot. You've got Nautilus is still open and available. I felt like for Godsent, locking in something maybe like the Ezreal could have been... Never mind. It's the first ban. I'm talking trash. I'm talking absolute trash. Save it, please. Yeah, no, it's fine. So yeah, I think Godsent locking in engage when you've got so much sort of front-forward dive to at least give yourself the option of potentially re-engaging is definitely strong. I think Lulu going into a solo lane makes a lot of sense when you've got Viego there. I think Viego plus Lulu is a really strong combination. And then, of course, like Scoundrel, you're pointing out, eventually, if you want to slot a hyper carry into that, you certainly can. So things like, the Vayne, even Kog'Maw can slot in, but I think into the Diana set, it's going to be a little bit risky. But in terms of hard, like full-on hard go button engages, BTXL don't really have that. It's got to be, flanks, flash forwards into the dashes and engages. So depending on what they take on R4, there is room for something like a Kog'Maw or a Vayne. But we'll have to wait and see what Yusa feels like playing, because I imagine he's got stuff like that in his wheelhouse. BTXL, though, they're moving away aggressive jungle options. I kind of get that, but I feel like Viego, when Lulu's on the table and it's probably in a solo lane, it's likely going to be the jungler here. So I feel like BTXL might have just chucked away 2 free bans. We'll have to wait and see. Godsent, though, I think tunneling down on the AD carries makes a bit of sense. And we'll have to see now what Deadly has in his locker.
I mean, let's take a look at the first pick on the BTXL side here. I mean, as you said, they've got a very wombo combo style team fight already being set up with the Braum. The Varus would make sense. Something the deadly. It combines really nicely with the ultimate there. Yeah, brilliant stuff from BTX. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted because in the background I just saw the most amazing first save by Jordan Pickett. But Varus gets locked in.
Look, we can't escape the football right now. Everyone.
We can't. I'm sorry, I'm English. It's coming home. Let's go. Anyway, Varus getting locked in. Jinx is going to be the answer. We did kind of talk about it at the start of the draft here, like locking in the Jinx with the Lulu. Clearly, like adding a hyper carry that makes it very attack speed dependent. And it kind of is a good setup. Now, what do you want to see from Godsent to round this comp out? They don't really have a good front line, so it's a little risky. They kind of need to get things rolling in a team fight quickly.
Okay.
It stays risky.
I don't mind the Orianna. I think it can definitely work in the sense of, you know, that a lot of this BTXL roster wants to come into you anyway. Orianna's always going to be a pretty safe blind pick. Can struggle sometimes into very proficient Jaces. So we'll have to see if Hatrix does lock it in, how, you know, 610 will fare here. I think 610's had some troubling performances in some control majors from time to time, as it is going to be the lock-in. But I think compositionally, you've already got the Lulu, adding more utility to what is effectively, you know, sort of a Viego plus Jinx draft with some engaging from the owner. I think it makes a fair amount of sense.
I think on paper, Godsent's composition looks pretty good. Like the Lulu into the set, she survives. She'll get to her 2 items really quickly. She'll be able to facilitate aesthetic in the jungle. The same with Orianna. When the poke starts running in, you've got 2 sets of shields to protect whoever is in the front line and gets exposed to the poke coming in. You've got engaged, you've got disengaged, you've got really good damage profile with the Orianna and your 2 ADs right there. And when you look at the sort of BTXL, I think they're going more for the skirmish heavy. They're going more on the wound choke you in lane, and you'll never end to the point where Jinx has 2-3 items so she can carry the game from there. And that's just classic BTXL, where we're like, well, these teams should roll over a team like Godsent. I think these are the picks we should be seeing across the board, and they did that just great.
Yeah, and exactly. That's my only sort of yellow flag. I won't call it a red flag for Godsent is I worry about some of the early lane priority across the board for them. I think if they can survive some of the pressure that I'm expecting BTXL to put down, then if they get to their iron power spikes, they can start to contest, but it's about not falling too far behind. And we saw BTXL have a comp that was relatively what we consider slow pace on the desk. And then we said that to, I believe we had Hatrix in the interview, and he's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is a fast-paced composition. And that, in contrast to this is motorway F1 pacing apparently. So hopefully Godsent can hold out against it.
Yeah, I mean, Godsent clearly have a lot of late game scaling win conditions here. They just need to get there. And versus BTXL, that's not always super possible, though we have seen a couple of teams in the early season manage to make it happen. But let's see, Godsent may be able to do the impossible and get the win here versus BTXL. We'll hand it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. I would like to get your thoughts on the school blog. What are you making of these comps? Because I'm liking what both have here. I think Godsent do have a pretty disgusting team fight comp put together. That is a filthy wombo combo if they can get going.
How do you get going though in a meta like this is going to be my question, because I think you can play through Viego's brawling power with the Lulu going around with him, but I am very scared by the fact that it's so easy for BTXL to just be proactive in the early game. You're going to be lacking priority around the control mage and the AD carry you're playing for. They're not going to be comfortable before they're at least 2 items, and then specifically on 3. And Macoon forgot to buy items. Observer, I see you trying to highlight it, but I have an overlay with a MasterCard Nexus pack, so I couldn't really get in there. But there we go. Macoon back in, finally picking up the items. So there we go with the B.
He's a happy B.
Because BTXL has been one of the best teams we have in the league at playing around with early tempo. It's been when we've talked to them in interviews, they've been talking about how this has been their working point. What they're trying to improve on every time is just keep the game as brutal, as fast, and as clean as possible at the same time. And that's very hard to do, but I gotta say, they're one of the best teams we have in the league at doing this. So I'm scared for this side of Godsent, because you need to slow down one of the best teams at pacing up the game.
And remember as well, for both Market and Advin, who will be switching out, this is their last game really on the NLC, so they need to really show up today, prove that they are worthy of going up to the LEC.
They have 2 more games.
They have been great.
They did the whole week, so they're still here tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.
We're not done with them yet.
But outside of that, I agree with your point. I just didn't want to tell anyone. Like, we still have to.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, it's good because that means that Trouble can vote for Marcoon for MVP for 3 more days still. And then she can get confused on Lost on what she needs to, who she votes for after that.
I am going to try and introduce her to the Church of Polson, but we'll see how it works out.
What about the Church of Fury?
I mean, I'm part of... So the thing is, I'm a big fan of Fury. But he's not Danish, and Polson is.
Oh,
that's
come
kind
on,
of
man.
the drawn is line. Oh, the line is drawn rather. Now to take it back into the game and actually talk about some of the players playing this game. You can see Yusa actually struggling here. We've seen Varus today really make good use of just poking down the enemy AD carries. So specifically, he got level 2 as well. And that hail of arrows just really makes it hard trading. Because one thing is, you get an ability down on you. This ability slows as well. So you can't really kite back with the auto attacks. You just need to run. And therefore, Deadly is allowed extra auto attacks onto you. Yeah.
And it gives grievous wounds, which can be quite horrible when, you know, I mean, obviously, Yusa's gone for the longsword, so hasn't got any extra sustain from that. But, you know, the grievous wounds, they do hurt.
Yeah, I guess it do. I even going down to like 2 seconds, I guess they're kind of half towards those 2 seconds with the healing reduction. But anyway, looking...
These are little things we take, but the fight is on and that is going to be Zvene locked in, ignited, and the hail of arrows flashed away. And because of that, Zvene should survive this.
Topside. Jungle is being fought over as well here. It looks like McCoon was able to get the scuttle, and he's just going to move down immediately to the bottom. You can actually see it's the XL bot lane moving down. And I wonder who's going to get this. Are they going to give over the double scuttle to McCoon? It seems like yes. So not only do they get a lot of priority down towards the bottom lane, they force summoner spells. They also force summoner spells for 6-10 in the mid lane at the cost of hat tricks. But they get a double scuttle. And small things, but it's these kind of things that gives you a lead rather in this game.
Well, there's an invade coming in from Marcoon as well with a questionable recall as this Aesthetic will spot him out. Arrow Path means he can hunt him down into the Spectral Moor. Marcoon, that was a little bit of a greedy place to recall. Should be able to escape Aesthetic, although Aesthetic not letting up. One more stun. Dodged away, but Marcoon has to flash at the tail end of it. Meanwhile, Zvene, no flash available, isn't going to get locked down, and Yusa gets a nice trade back off onto Deadly with the help of the minion wave. Hits that zap as well, and Deadly just going to eat a little bit more poke on the tail end.
Yeah, some nice shumpers, and now it's Aesthetic's turn to start with this counter jungler. There is a blast cone down. McCoon's very low.
He's been seen. He's got the smite, though. Needs to heal up. Tries to jump away. Gets the shield off. Marcoon gonna smite, gonna heal. Now Svedek has to be careful because Hatrix is over the wall. His face will be broken any minute now. Pulled in. And like a championship boxer, all he needs is one good haymaker. First blood stolen by Advian. God damn it, I set that up beautifully, Advian.
I mean, Set doesn't use mana. Advian does. Obviously, he deserves it. So blue buff for him. But yeah, there we go. Obviously, Advian shouldn't have taken that first up properly. I think it was a bit a miss on the auto attack when he was walking in on that one. But Marcoon in a situation where it looked like he was caught off guard, and then all of a sudden, Aesthetic was the one caught off guard. So invade, not paying its dividends for both junglers in return, really.
Reset's going to come in for Advian. Hope this shot was worth it. Yep, you get a Kindle gem. Actually, you know, not bad. Bit of cooldown reduction, bit more health. Deadly will have to play a little bit safe for now. And while we have this respite in the action, do we have a respite in the action, Hatrix? I think we do. While we have this respite in the action, I'm now going to question you, Gulborg.
Go ahead.
Mikkel, my boy. You
okay? Never heard you call me that.
I have. I've called you before. Anyway,
go on.
I asked you a question during the last break about ice cream flavors, and you're the only one who copped out. So I want you here on air now to say your one favorite flavor.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rainbow mix of like.
No,
probably...
it's not a rainbow mix. That's not a thing.
But what if it's my favorite ice cream?
Hold on. Arome. Here comes Marcoon. He's got the moonfall. Kubu flashes away, and Arome will find him with a shot blast. We don't need to break down that play. We need to break down your favorite ice cream flavor. You can only pick one. You can't pick three. That's not how this game works.
I'm going to go mango then. Mango sorbet.
Mango. Mango's a good flavor. That's a very refreshing flavor. Good choice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All my choices are great, but you don't want to hear the two others. Anyway, so Still, wait, I honestly didn't care enough when we were having that conversation to hear yours, so I feel like I owe you to be polite and hear about yours.
Palins and cream. If you ever have palins and cream, it's incredibly nice.
I'm uncultured. I don't even know what that is.
Palins are like a nut, and it's like caramel and palins in the ice cream mix. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good.
It sounds good.
Haagen does make it, so you know it's good ice cream.
Like
anyway, teleport's coming in. XL are looking for the fight. Zvene going to lock down one for the moment as Arome continues to fight. Svenek's going to lose his life as they just chase in for another kill. Hatrix this time will pick up the kill with a haymaker.
And there we go. Once again, we talk about it. BTXL are one of the fastest paced teams we have in the league. They're so good at creating plays, and that's why it's so hard for the side of Godsent that's drafted themselves a scaling composition. Already 7 minutes into the game, being 1k down, and just, you know, being already played around a bit with BTXL here.
Rome has to be a little bit careful. Kubi does do a deceptively high amount of damage. This is the thing about Lulu. Whenever she becomes kind of like meta as a laner, you always forget, even with support items, how much damage she does.
I will say though, the old Lulu top used to be worse. Like, this Lulu top is nowhere near as annoying as that old one.
Yeah,
with the build pattern back then giving more AP as well. So, and her base damage was nerfed a bit since that. So I will say this time around, it feels like a bit more of a balanced enchanter that you have here.
Zvene gonna get pulled in. They're gonna land the Winter's Bite, but got 610s there to make sure for Zvene not get caught out.
Oh yes, of course.
You taking the
McCune is in the area? No, certainly not.
Oh, Hatrix flashes forward, gets slammed back. 610, you can jump so far, but the shockwave not even going to be necessary. It's Zvene just able to survive for now, so they find themselves a pick onto 610.
Yeah, they didn't want to continue with the concussive blows onto Svenne as you set yourself aesthetic. Was in the vicinity, but getting that pick from Hatrix there is allowing them to push out the mid lane. It's allowing them to get the pressure around the top side. And with that pressure, they're gaining themselves a Rift Herald for themselves.
Well, 9 minutes on the clock. And it looks like XL looking to finish up this Rift Herald, although Market has to be really careful because Zvene's coming in, and that's already been basically leashed up as they do find a quick stun, but Arome's also making his way over. Smite's going to go down, and Markoon's going to be able to pick it up. No Moonfall available, but they're going to continue with the chase. The Zenith Blade from Zene into the 3-man Shockwave. The Heartbreaker's down, and the form is stolen by Aesthetic as Markoon heavily chunked out. Needs to be careful, but Hatrix able to jump onto 610 to zone 610 away from Markoon, and Hatrix just going to punch the robot a little bit.
Okay, that was a pretty sick wombo combo. I think this was what you talked about as well, the Shockwave into... Well, it wasn't necessarily a solo flare. Sven is only level 5, but it could have been so much better as well. And that's a nice way to at least try and get some resources back into the game. Although you do not get too much. You're still 2k behind. Rift Herald did still go over to the side of Markoon. And I think they will try to look to inject some of this gold again into some of their members. I think I've noticed with BTXL as well is that they don't care much for early Drakes either. They skip out on a lot of these Drakes. There's a lot of times where they actually have all the priorities in the world to go for it, but they'd much rather just use that to invade the enemy jungle, to set up plays up towards the top side of the map and say, yeah, you can have the first Drake if you want to. We'll be too busy doing something else on the map that's going to give us an actual gold lead. Because remember, the first Drake by itself doesn't do all too much.
No, it doesn't really. I mean, like you said, not really looking towards it. It's going to be a very late soul if we see a soul this game, just to the fact that we're now 11 minutes in and the dragon's still not been taken. Things are coming down as supports are both just doing a bit of ward duty in the river, although Advin does have to be somewhat careful.
I think he's fine. He's got his jungler in the back as well. Deadly is ready. Chains of Corruption's active as well. And mid lane priority has just been obtained by Hatrix. You can see he's already moving down, clearing some of that vision. And that's the thing. It's very easy for Hatrix to end up into a fog of war right now. That's going to make the members of Godsent conscious of Hatrix's roaming potential. So whenever Hatrix is no longer in vision and he's just moving down just a bit to the right and they cannot see him, they have to interpret that as he's coming mid, or bot rather.
Hatrix going to pull in one. Markoon slams into the minion. The shockwave hits onto 2, but that is going to be enough for the kill. Markoon secures it. Rocket is going to land onto the pair of them, but they're able to survive that.
There we go. Once again, they knew the flash was down. Hatrix walks in, gets the face breaker, and rotates himself around. But that's nice suplex just to pick up at the end with some extra kills. Now, Mythics has come through from at the end now as well. So this Hectech Rocket Belt is probably going to do wonders if skirmishes start arising again, which I think we should expect since the Rift Herald is still active for him. You can see he's making his way up towards the top side of the map, and it looks like that is going to be the destination of Set Herald.
He just has to be a little bit careful. Does land the traps and gets a quick rocket into Deadly, but Deadly, when that's erased, it actually does do some pretty serious damage. Yusa doesn't let the plate drop, actually. So even though Deadly wasn't in range and he wouldn't have got the gold, it's just going to clear it out. And the Rift Tail gets summoned in the top lane. I think this may just be first Tower Blood. I don't think there's really much QB can do to stop this, and with the damage they've done to the tower, that is all but guaranteed. First Tower Blood over to the side of BTXL on the top lane, split between Markoon and Arome.
And here's the thing, remember that first strike we talked about as well? You take a look onto that. They don't care, BTXL. They'd much rather go for a top lane play.
I mean, QB was unable to stop the second charges once they get so much bonus damage in, and QB has to be careful as Markoon lands it into the Lunar Rush. Pops the ultimate to survive as to the skies Arome goes into a polymorph, but Kubu, only so much glitter you can do to slow him down as you're going to get chased down, able to jump away for the moment as the cleanse comes out from Deadly, instantly locked down straight away again as the Glacier comes in. A lot of damage coming out as the Spheric is going to be rooted and Deadly doing some serious damage. Can he steal the form in time? No, he can't. The teleports come through as well as Arome rejoins the team and XL keep Deadly alive.
There is no way they should be able to win out on two fronts of the map, but they still do it. BTXL finding two towers in the top side, forces Kibu away, and Arome still has the decency to TP down to help his bot lane secure that fight. BTXL taking everything on the map right now. Immaculate play.
Yeah, that was really, really good stuff across the board from XL. And now with the Dragon in the pocket of Godsent, it's not really too much to play for on the bot side as the plates will be falling off in the next 10 seconds. I believe Yusa picked up a plate on the bottom side. Maybe two, actually. Oh, he got two. Okay, he got 2 plates on the back of that. Does inject him with a little bit of gold, and that means he's actually still equal with Deadly off the back of that. So
no,
he can be pretty happy on that front.
Look at the top in the jungle. Look at the top in the jungle.
Oh.
Not good. It's not looking good. Yeah, it's pretty tough. I guess this is what happened. Okay, here is one team that got the Drake, and here's another team who just decided to get 2 towers in top lane instead and get some kills.
Extend's just going to put a noise. Actually, he has back up the shockwave of the Hatrix, and Hatrix going to go for the showstopper. Puts the shield up onto one, flashes away. Extend to continue the chase and is able to find the kill. Hatrix loses his life.
Yeah, I was going to say, surely he does not get away, but he's able. They're able to pick up the kill off a Night Lord pickup. Hatrix being a bit greedy, recalling on the ward here instead of just going back to the little tower. But they do get a kill. Don't get much more outside of that. Unfortunately, though, the mid lane is still able to be farmed over the mid wave. Deadly is getting a tower for himself. He's going to be able to push this out. And on the top side, it's a Lulu pushing in the wave. They are still losing a lot of resources up here, though. Arome has left top side. So I guess Godsent are actually doing decent considering that they are a bit behind, or rather far behind 6k down. And still able to trade off.
Ooh! Blast goes used. Markoon continues the chase of the Lunar Rush. Soda Flare goes a little bit wide. Great blast going to save the lives there. That Moonfall could have been really impactful for Markoon, but XL, even though they didn't get the kill, still pretty happy with the pressure they just bought themselves, and they're going to translate that into a Rift Herald.
Yeah, I don't think there's much you can do on the side of Godsent to actually challenge this one. Yes, you do. You honestly don't even have TP onto 610. So yeah, if you wanted to, you'd go into a 4v5 and surely you would lose that. So they decide to back up. They decide to get themselves some minions on towards 610. You can actually see he is level 11 on towards the Orianna. So he is getting a bit for himself in this matchup, which is what you need. Because for Godsent right now, the key carry members you got for yourself is your mid laner. Oh no.
Hatrix is doing a lot of damage. Wow.
Yes, 2 plagues wasn't available, so no way for Hatrix to actually all in and commit to it. So you had to back up a bit there. But once again, that is the carries for Godsent. You're looking at the Jinx, you're looking at the Orianna, and if they're not online, it's going to be really hard for you to find these fights.
Avian should be able to taxi away from Deadly. Able to jump the wall. Kind of the expected outcome. I don't think you're really going to be able to kill that Braum there.
No, I think that would be very tough. I think one thing they could get going for them, if they get a pig onto Markoon and Aesthetic is able to get that possession, then it might be another conversation about how Godsent is all of a sudden going to be able to actually pull something out of these fights. But if you don't get a pickup before a fight, I just think it's going to be very tough for you.
Curious to see where this Rift El's going to go down from Marcoon. You know, they could just use it to crack open the mid lane turret. I feel like that is the probably obvious answer. But remember, they could take a very early inhibitor and inhibitor tower with that if they can find the pressure on the map to be able to do so. Dragon spawning up in 40 seconds, and remember last time XL traded the towers for the Dragon, they're not overly fussed by picking up the second one as well.
No, I think for XL, the objective that's going to matter the more. I'm not. It's just getting these outer turrets down. It's just taking control over the map. They have the Rift Hell in their inventory. You can see they're actually grouping up 5 members around this mid lane turret. So while 610 is down towards bottom, picking up a wave, while the Lulu is up towards the top side of the map, XL is just grouping up to try and trim down this mid wave of towers.
Well, the shockwave clears the wave, the chains come down, and the tower takes a lot of damage as the Glacial Fissure comes in. A lot of damage onto 610, and there's the Moonfall onto 2, onto 3 by Marcoon as he's able to find 1. Zveni follows over the wall, but Deadly finds the snipe, and Marcoon survives. 2 kills for none in favor of XL.
And this is what they do. I love watching BTXL play due to the fact that they know they don't always need these neutral objectives as a starter. They know when they have a gold lead, and when they can just commit to a play, they'll do it. And then, yes, after the play's done, then you can take the Drake. Then you can use it as a kind of exit objective. Whereas most teams would start up the Drake, they put the vision around Drake, and they put you into a fight. BTXL don't need to do that. They'll bring the fight to you on their terms.
It's just so easy for them to snap start a fight when you've got the Proto Belt on Diana. Lunar Rush, Proto Belt, Lunar Rush. You cover so much distance. It's so crazy how much distance Diana can cover with this build.
And it's not only that, right? It's the fact that when you are sieging turrets, you have a Jace, you have a Varus, and as soon as those target has been, just poked down a little bit, it's so easy for her to pick it up, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's minimal chip. It's really minimal chip damage. You only need like a couple of like a couple of arrows or a big shot blast to land, and realistically, they're probably low enough that Marcoon can either chunk them and force a summoner spell or just outright kill them.
Yeah, you're pretty much pretty right about that one. But now it is going to be interesting. With this 7k gold lead, BTXL mid-wave completely open up. I think they're going to start looking at pushing a bit vision up towards the Baron, but most of the time I think they're just going to take care of this last tier 2 turret. I think they're just going to own the entire red side jungle here and push Godsent as far back into their base as they possibly can. And when that had happened, then you can start looking for plays around the Baron instead. Then you can start baiting them in to their own jungle and giving them a false sense of security.
Well, they are in a chokehold. This is a good spot for that big wombo combo Godsent we talked about, but Zveni caught out. Solar Flare comes into the traps. The suplex is there, into the Glacial Fissure. Yusa's knocked up. Yusa gets the ulti from the Lulu, but Hatrix will run him down, and a Haymaker will secure the kill. 2 kills for XL like that.
And that's the thing. That was your carry. We talked about it. Orianna, Jinx, that's your main carries in this team composition, and I said it. I think going late game scaling is going to be very tough against BTXL, the most proactive team we have. And all in general, in this meta, scaling can be a bit of bait, because if you don't work with the pressure you have off early game, or if you don't have any pressure whatsoever, and you play into a team that knows what to do with that pressure, it's just going to be very hard to play the game.
Gonna have to be one hell of a fight from Advian and 610 and Svedic, as he does look for the shockwave. The ball's in place and has to reset it as he flashes away. His Hatrix looks to come in. Kubu also on the way. The arrow is going to go down. 2,000 health onto the Baron. 610 repositions the ball. Chain lands. Hatrix is the only one to eat the shockwave, and Marcoon slams in. Moonfall onto 2. Finds himself the kill. They get the Baron. They get the kills. XL just taking everything right now.
It looks like they want to get a bit more, but Kubu and Yusa able to walk up with a shock blast in their back to send them off. So Bluebird as well going over to BTXL. And that's the thing, that's what we talked about. You could see Godsent beforehand, before the Baron even broke out in the first replay, that I think we're getting it. No, it's just going to be the Baron. It's incredibly easy for them to turn. The Baron is already soloed. Marcoon could just solo it himself, and as soon as he joins the fight, it's basically over. But it's also the tools you have to keep them away. Hatrix did such a great job at zoning 610 away, at zoning Aesthetic away. And then Deadly, he found the chains of corruptions. As soon as one member of Godsent is locked down, it's so easy for BTXL XL to just pick them up because they're just so far ahead. And you can see that gold lead now, 12,000 gold ahead. It's not an easy task for Godsent this one. It's basically over. You are looking for BTXL to make mistakes. We're in that point of the game where it's no longer in your hands, it feels like.
Oh my lord, 610 eats a shot blast and an arrow and he loses a third of his health. XL are just doing disgusting damage as Kubu eats an arrow that hasn't been through any minions, and you're seeing how much damage he's able to do.
He doesn't even have Moro mana yet. He doesn't even have Moro mana yet. It's not stacked up, and he's still doing this amount of damage.
I mean, this is a 13,000 gold lead as a Shot Blast, Chains of Corruption comes out, instant cleanse by Yusa. No follow-up from the Shockwave. And the inhibitor comes down. There's the flash from Markoon. Shockwave only hits him, but he's already killed Yusa. He's already killed the carry. And these fights are just starting so quick. 610!
Oh!
Gets Shot Blast. A beautiful snipe comes in from Arome. And I think this might be the game, Goldborg. There's not really too much they're going to be able to do. The Faith Breaker into a little bit more damage as the screen goes mad. Only Kubu able to survive, but can he survive is the real question. Markoon's going to make sure this game finishes up. 23 minutes on the clock. A phenomenal gold lead to XL and a very, very heavy stomp for them as XL take the win over Godsent.
And there we go. That's what we talked about. That early proactivity from BTXL. How aggressive they were. That second Herald, with every Herald, they actually removed 2 towers. With the first one, they took care of the top side. With the second one, took care of mid. And when they needed to, they just went down back bot and just cleared up the entire base. Like, they're just so far ahead. And I think with the late game you drafted from Godsent, there was just no way you could ever contest them in these early stages of the game.
XL cheating a little bit. They brought some LEC players in, let's be real. Anyway, fantastic game from them. When we're back, we'll have the analyst desk with an interview and some drawing. So we'll see you after this.